Hi there. We continue with fractions, and today we're going to be studying some basic comparison when we're talking about fractions. But as you know, we have to do a little review first. Last time we learned that fractions are equal parts from a whole. And if the parts are not equal, then they are not fractions. We also learned that to represent fractions, we use two numbers separated by a line. And those numbers are called numerator and denominator. Remember, the denominator is the number below, and it represents how many parts the whole was divided into originally. And the numerator represents how many parts you are using now, or how many parts you have now. Now we go with comparison. When we compare two numbers, the first thing we have to find is which number is the greater or the biggest and which one is the smallest. How do we do that with fractions? Remember, when you divide a thing, the more you divide it, the smallest the fraction or the parts are gonna be. Okay, so let's see some pictures. We have a pizza, okay? You go to the pizza shop and you have a whole pizza. Yeah, and that's represented with number 1. That's my whole. It's complete. It hasn't been divided yet. And I can divide that pizza in any number of parts, right? And you know that, for example, large pizza is divided into 12 pieces or slices, and then the medium or regular pizza is divided into 8. And then the small one, like the personal one, is divided into 4 pieces. Wow. If I divide this pizza into 2 parts or 2 halves, that will be 1 half and another half. I divided the pizza into 2 parts. That's why my denominator is number 2. 1 part out of 2, and then 1 other part out of 2. Okay? That's a half. These fractions are big because it is a whole pizza that was divided only into 2 pieces. Okay? So they're big pieces. What happens if I take the same pizza or the same size of a pizza and I divided it into 4 parts? It's the same size of a pizza, but each slice or each fraction is gonna be smaller. Okay? So I have 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Each one of these pieces is 1 out of 4 pieces. Okay? It's the same size of a pizza, but these pieces are smaller than the one that was divided into only 2 parts. Okay? So you're seeing this? The more you divide it, the greater is gonna be the denominator, but the smaller is gonna be the fraction. Okay, so that's a little bit complicated, so no worries, we're gonna explain this. When you have to compare fractions, you have to look at the denominator. That's the first thing you're gonna look at. You look at the denominator and you check if it is the same. If the fractions have the same denominator, it means that there were 2 wholes that were divided into the same amount of parts. Okay? So I have, imagine this is a pie or a pizza. It was divided into 4 parts. 2 parts out of 4 is the fraction that I'm using right now. Okay? And that's 2/4, or 2 out of 4. And then I have this other pizza, same size, also divided into 4, but now I'm using 3 parts. Okay? So I have 2/4 and 3/4. Which one is the greater or the smallest fraction? If I look at 2/4, only this part. Is this smallest or greater than 3 parts out of 4? Yeah. 2 parts out of 4 is smaller than 3 parts out of 4. Why? Because it's not the same if you eat 2 slices of pizza than eating 3 slices of pizza, right? So remember, first thing you're going to look at is the denominator. If the denominators are the same, then the greater fraction is going to be the one with the greater numerator. Okay? What if they have the same numerator but different denominator? So you look at your denominators and you see they're different. What do we do now? Well, remember at the beginning I said that the more you divide a whole, the smaller are the pieces. Let's say I have this. This is my whole. It was divided into 2 parts. And I'm taking only 1 part out of 2. They have another whole, same size, but this one was divided into 5 parts. Okay, and I'm only using 1. Look at the images. Which one do you think is the greater and the smaller fraction? That's correct. 1 piece out of 2 is going to be greater. It's a half. Okay, well, so you look at the denominators and you think, oh, but this denominator is number 2 and 2 is smaller than 5. But that's not how it is. The smaller the denominator, the greater the fraction. If the numerators are the same. You see, I'm only using 1 part of this, and I'm only using 1 part of this. Let's see another example. I have this, it was divided into 7 parts. And the next one was divided into 4 parts. If I compare those two and I have 1 out of 7 and the other one is 1 out of 4, then I have that 1 out of 7 is smaller than 1 out of 4. Okay? So just look at your denominators. And remember, the bigger the denominator or the greater the denominator, it means that the whole was divided into more parts. More parts means smaller parts. Don't forget, as I've been saying, the more you divide a whole, the smaller the fractions will be. If the denominators are the same, the greater numerator is the greater fraction. If the numerators are the same, then you look at the denominator again, and the smaller the denominator, the greater the fraction. Okay, you just have to practice this, don't worry, you're gonna get there. That's all for today, kids. And as usual, if you have any question, ask your teacher. See you later, alligator. Check the other videos.